All right, operating expense accounts. Section 2, activity, subject activity, explanation, wage structure, the double X, double X, 10, double X. Wage structure for the activity refers to the preparing, maintaining, the releasing, the renting, the depreciating, retiring of the right of way of the track structure for the building of the facility includes all of the nature of the object of this class, of the classification, salary, wages, the fringe for the benefit, the material supply, for the leave, for the rental, purchase of the casualty, the depreciation, retirements where such objects are in performance support of all of the above function specification include all the natural expense of the object with the performance of the above the described function of the property for the type of the include the property account for the 2 through the 45 of the include excluding 45 on 44 related to the of the property only for the include the cost of the operating work trained and sub activity. Support activity. Activity includes all the expense of the related transportation of the equipment described in the property account for the 44, 46, 42, 58 through 58, with all should be charged for the equipment. Activity should include the expense of the performance support of the transportation, general administration, activity, property use of the non-carry operation, non-operating property, or any interest in other fixed charges. Running sub-activities, double X, double 11, double X. Running sub-activity, wage for the activity, return of the function, repairing, maintaining, leasing, renting, depreciating, and retiring the right of way of the track, signaling, interlock of the highway, so crossing, running the track for the past tracks, crossover there's etc. Include the turnarounds for those tracks for the passing clearing points, that include all the nature expense of the object, sub-classifications of the way the structure activity applicable to the right of way of the track to define above the sub-activity specifically exclude the expense of the operating signal of the interlock of the highway grade crossing, which are properly charged with transportation activity. Alright, switching sub-activity 12 double X 12 double X. Switching activity of the way of the structure activity refers to the function repairing, maintaining, lending, leasing, renting of the depreciation right, retiring the right of way of the track signal, interlocking highway grade crossing the yards of the which were acceptable switchers, separate services maintaining and include the classification house of the team in the industry, the other track switcher for the yard, locomotive for the station, the industry, the other switching tracks, which no separate switching of the services maintained include all the nature or expense of the operating object sub-classification of the way of structure activity applicable to the right of way of the track is defined above the sub-activity specifically excludes expense incurred for the operating signal that interlocks highway grade crossing the properly charged with the transportation activity. Other sub-activity double X 13 double X. Other sub-activity wage structure for the activity refers to the function repairing, maintaining, leasing, renting, depreciating, retiring other road property structure of the buildings, facility not provided. The running, switching sub-activities include with all the nature, natural expense of the object with the sub-classification of the way the structure of the activity applicable to structure of building facilities defined above the specifically excludes expenses incurred for the operating in such of the structures, buildings, facilities which are properly charged to the charge of the equipment, transportation, general and administrative activities. Equipment activity double X 20 double X. Alright, equipment activity refers to repairing, maintaining, leasing, and renting of the depreciation, retiring the transportation of their operating equipment, including the natural expense of the object subclassification, such as salaries, wages, fringe benefits, material supply, with lease, rental, with the purchase, and service to schedule, the depreciation, retirement, especially including all other natural expense for the object performing the object with the function, property of the type of include the property account with the 44, 46, 52, 50 through 58, where the such property is on the lease for the cost of operating work for the subsupport of the equipment activity 2, and include the herein activity include all expenses related property described in the property 2 accounts for the 2 through 45, excluding 44, all of which should be charged with the way of structure of the activity, excluding the service expense of the person or woman to support the transportation, general administrative of the activity, property, you did not carry operation, non-operating property, interest over the off-strict charges. Alright, locomotive sub-activity double X 21 double X. Locomotive sub-activity equipment activity refers to repairing, maintaining, leasing, renting, depreciating, retiring locomotives if they include with all the natural expensive objects of the classification of the under the equipment under the applicable locomotive. The sub-activity specifically excludes expenses incurred with the operating of the locomotives and such a locomotive that fuels and lubricants, train crew, wages, operating supply of services, and operating opposed maintenance and repairing and closing cleaning of the which include with the transportation activity except if the locomotive clearly support the other activities sub-activity the locomotive is operated with the support. Train car sub-activity double X double 22 double X. Freight train car sub-activity of the refers to the repairing, maintaining, leasing, renting, the depreciating, retiring of the freight train car that includes all the nature or expense of the subject classification. Equipment of activities applicable to the freight train car for the sub-activity pertains all freight train cars described in property account 53 where owned with the lease include the freight cars due to the hauling rate of the company super the cabooses does not pertain to the work equipment. The sub-activity specifically excludes the expense that include with the running of the train, operating of the freight services of the locomotive, fuel of the lubricants, train crew, wages of the inspection, train operating supply of services as opposed to the maintaining, the repair, the cleaning, where included the transportation activity, except for the where such of the cost of the clear of the support of repairing and maintaining the freight car of the other activities of the sub-activity locomotive trains operated with the supporting, repairing, and maintaining freight cars. The operating costs should be charged to the sub-activity. Alright, other equipment sub-activity XX23XX. Other equipment sub-activity equipment activity refers to the repairing, maintaining, leasing, renting, depreciating, retiring of the other equipment, including all the natural expense of the object of the sub-classification under the equipment sub-activity, applicability of the equipment sub-activity pertaining to all the equipment described in the property account for the 46, 46, 54, and through 58, with whether the such property is owned with the lease for the sub-activity is specifically excluded the expenses incurred with the operating and other equipment, such as the fuel and lubricating, the crew rates, the inspection, equipment, the operating supply, servicing as opposed to the maintaining, the repair, cleaning, and the out includable or which are includable with the transportation activity, except which of the costs really support the activities of sub-activities with sub-locomotive trains or other equipment operating in the support, repairing, maintaining other equipment of the operating costs shall be charged for the sub-activity. Alright, transportation activity XX3030XX. Transportation activity refers to operating, service, inspecting, wing, and assembling, switching train with the operating highway revenue, service, the operating facility, with the connection with the carrier, transportation operating, including coal or terminal, the inner terminal, module, terminal, grain, elevators, other operating car flow, carrier, car ferry, service of the related facility, operating communication system, primarily support train operation, joint facility train operation, include the various administrative functions directly supporting the transportation operation, include the described administrative support operations subject, sub-activity, work train costs, support the way structure of the equipment as of the activity should be charged for those activity, how shipment of the company material handled, and predominantly revenue freight trains over that property include the activity. These activities include all the nature, expense, object of the sub-classification, such as the salary, wage, fringe benefits, material, the supply of the purchase services, loss and damage, freight, casualties. Train operation sub-activity XX31XX. Activity exclude the expense for the wage structure of the equipment, the general administrative of the activities, as well as those expense for the non-carrier operation, non-operation functions. Alright, the train operation sub-activity, transportation activity refer to the operation expense for the except for the permanent forming the yard function of the yard terminal, running train with the roadway with the strip of the switching train, except for the switching performed with the yard terminals, making the customer pick up the delivery, except for the yard terminals provided the dispatch and control with the reporting, monitoring the road train movements, inspect for the lubricating train, strip of the fuel, including not repairing, maintaining locomotives, purchasing, producing electrical power, motive power for the operating support of equipment that gives communication signal for the cross protection and interlocking sub-activity, include the crew calling of the transportation crew, lodging, meal, the other expense, the loss, damage, the freight, and the casualty, and insurance, the clear wreck, and the operating joint with the track facility, except for the year of the specialized service. It's also include the salary, wage, fringe benefits, material, supply of fuel, lubricants, purchase service, the quality, the damage for the other natural expense, the elements incurred with the operating train operator, sub-activity, exclude the operation specialized services, which should be charged with the specialized service operation, sub-activity, however, the road and way services between the train and service facilities outside the terminal areas belong to the train operating sub-activity. Work other non-revenue train operating costs to be charged for the appropriate supported activity shippers with the company material that normally should be charged for the sub-activity, except for the train movement is an exclusively or predominantly for such non-revenue purposes where supported activity should bear in the training operation cost. Alright, yard operation sub-activity XX32XX. Yard operation sub-activity actively refers to classifying cars, make up the breakup, the down tour, supporting handling way with the connection from the freight car for the classification, switch over the terminals, inspection, serve the fuel, cleaning, not repairing, the maintaining local, the computer to provide the yard for the terminal, serve the purchasing, producing electrical motive power, reverting holding cars, reporting operation of the car, moving the related data to the yard terminals, all include the operating, supporting after the yard terminals, such as the communication signals, interlocking yard crew, and calling transportation. Yard crew, lodging, meal, the other expense for the loss, damage, freight, the investigation traceable occurring with the result of the performance of the yard operation casualty, insurance for the related to the yard operation, clearing with the record of the curve of the performing yard operation, operating yard joint yard terminals. Alright, which terminal sub-activity include the pickup of the delivery freight with the car for the customer, spur track with the same track with the freight, houses for the interchange with the rip track with the special services facility, the include the spare salary, wage of the frame, fringe benefits of the material supply with the fuel, lubricants, purchase of the casualty, damage for the other natural extent of the elements, incur the operating yard of the terminals, yard operation, sub-activity, cost switching, operation facility, specialized services, switching, transfer operation between the yard and special services of the facility later is not limited with the effective definition restricting the time of the carry operation rule with the labor agreement that is related solely to defined operation which are performed in the yard and terminal area. Alright, training yard common sub-activity XX33XX. Training yard common sub-activity transportation activity refers to the function adjusting and transferring load with the placing of the remove the car loading device grain door with the include the loss of the damage freight non-specifically traceable to numbers of the activity resulting in the performance of the training yard specialized service operation include the salary wage fringe benefits of material supply purchase of the other natural expense elements incur the performing the function defined above the exclude the natural expense element the casualty insurance which should be charged train operation yard operation sub-activity. Alright, specialized service operations, sub-activities, XX34XX, specialized service operations, sub-activity, transvariation activity refers to operating services which are specialized in nature for the cost of the characteristics, including of the designated with the board, the purpose of segregating the cost of the preliminary to preclude the distortion, the general cost of the apple, the train operation, yard operation, sub-activity, secondary, for the breakout cost of the operating individual specialized services can be in less detail with the full range of the natural expense for the account with the reports either occurring in the analysis proposed pertaining to each type of the specialized service. Or the designated specialized services operation of follow the trail and flat car container and flat car operation for the operating of the rail, the ground with the water, rail, transfer of the handle of the trailer containers, include the related store with highway, move them with the trailer within the terminal area with the purpose of the pickup of the delivery and interchange. The service including loading and tie down, unloading flat cars of the dolly for the pig bags, travel to and from the highway tractor for the moving trailer with the dolly contained with the facility, the service including the fueling, but not repairing with the maintaining the facility equipment, operating storage of the casualties claimed with the insurance with the relating to the facility, trailer and flat car container and flat car do not include the Plan 5 of the other arrangements with the division of revenues between rail and motor carrier, do not include the switching for the performance of the facility of the yard, the road code that do not include the functional way of the structure equipment, like general administrative activity, train yard, and common for administrative support and sub-activity, floating operation, further operating the water vessels equipment of the revenue services, include the operation carriages, care ferries, forms of the watercraft, further floating operations, include the operator, include the administrative support operations, trains and the yard of the facility, dedicated yard servicing facility, switching within the dedicated support of the terminal facility, the performing by the yard cards, the is not called appropriate for the way of the structure of equipment of the general administrative activities. Floating operation should be classified with the line terminal operation. Distribution should be made based on the nature of the operation, not the facility of the equipment. When the service occurs between the distinct terminals with the operation should be considered the line operation. When the service is conducted with the general terminal harbor area, the operation should be considered the terminal operation. A coal terminal operation, water terminal refers to operation rail to water to rail transfer, transloading facility of the coal or ores related to storage, blending of the other processing, handling of the facility operation, includes loading and unloading rail cars, water vessel with the facility, moving the combines within the facility, but whatever the means operating the facility, pollution control equipment, operating the directing the operation of the mooring and the tugboat, servicing the cleaning, fueling, not repairing, the maintaining the facility equipment, operating storage, everyday qualities of the claim and the insurance relating to the facility. Terminal operations do not include the cost of the appropriate wave structure of the equipment. If the general administrative activities also do not include the cost appropriate to train operation, train yard operation, common administrative support services, operated sub-activity, switching, transfer of the cars between general yards of the training facility or dedicated yard facility, if the switching with the dedicated support of the terminal facility were performed by the yard. Crews should be charged for the yard operation, sub-activity, other marine terminal operation, the operation marine terminals other than those for which the separate designated specialized service operation category is provided. Alright, motor vehicle loading and distribution facility operation refers to the operation facility, the loading and the unloading of the storage motor vehicle. The protected service of the operation refers to the function service, the cleaning of the fueling, but not repairing the maintaining mechanical property of the service. The equipment, the other specialized service of the operation refers to the function of the performing the rail, substitute service, the other highway revenue service, the LCL terminal, the operation warehouse, the operation freight car, transloading the grain elevator terminal operation, livestock feeding operation, other specialized services designated by the board. It includes the transportation operation expense only of those services listed above. Administrative support operation sub-activity XX35XX. Administrative support operations sub-activity refers to the operation provided direct administrative support for the overall transportation activity, including the administrative support for the common specialized for the operations sub-activity. Administrative support operations include the receiving, the processing of the customer orders, requesting car, the permitting, the way bill, the rating, the shipping, the billing, the customer, the collecting customer, the receivable, ordinary costs of the business line, include the treasury, legal, the general, the accounting, revenue accounting of the credible operations of all which are the chargeable, the general administrative activity, billing of the record, the demonstration reporting, the interchange, the reporting in advance, initial reporting and summarization of the input of the documents, purchase of the name of the cash collection and accounting operations beyond the initial summarization and reporting and input data of the assignable general administrative accounting activity except for those otherwise included the definition of the sub-activity carrier shaft administrative the clerical operation related to operating transportation department general administrative that should not be troubled with the sub-activity administrative support operation sub-activity may be performed at a local station regional office of the event even with the general office of the house the location of the operation performance does not affect the name of the operation include the sub-activity should be reasonably correlated with the quantity of the shipment if you do the quantity of the carloads. Alright, your general administrative activity XX60XX. General administrative activity refers to providing overall administrative general support with the care of the operation command. Prohibited is only a portion of the general administrative activity with the relief of the carrier operation. The distinguish of the non-carrier operation and non-operative activities include exclusive legal and financial treasury with the accounting of the budgeting, taxation, corporate planning of the cost of marketing, the versing track of the corporate secondary public relations, real estate, insurance, the administrative, the personal administrative, the pension plan, the administrative, the general purchasing, labor relations, operations, internal auditing, industrial engineering, regulatory reporting activities, exclude the expense that incurred with the non-carrier operation of the carrier company, as well as the general, the administrative, the corporate, any of the non-operating and income with the expense. They also include the expense of the perform the direct support, wave, the service, structural equipment, the transportation activity, particular attention to the administrative support and operations sub-activity. All right, moving on to operating expense account, section 3, function explanations.